Welcome to A Closer Look. Today we have on Clay Biggs. He is one of my favorite professors I've ever had. Sadly, I'm not in the program anymore of exercise science, but a real joy to have in class. And he is the head of the exercise science program and old HLG baseball coach. And just been here for a long time and really built the whole program up by himself. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
So first question today. Tell me about how your old alma mater was Truman. You came here from Truman. Tell me how you got to Truman.
Okay. I'm not sure I have a great answer for that. It was a place where I could play baseball.
Yeah.
And I knew it was strong academically, and it wasn't too far away from home. I'm from Kansas City originally. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't too far away, but it was far away. I wanted to go away a little bit at least. So it was about a 3-hour drive from my house in Kansas City. And like I said, probably the biggest driving factor for me was good school, Division II. I could play baseball there, and I knew that. So it was just a good fit.
Yeah, so when you come – so, I mean, I've been there, like in that high school looking for a school to go play and all that stuff. Did you have a lot of offers coming out of high school, and how'd that look for you?
No, I did not. I had a pretty successful career in high school. I had a couple good years, my junior and senior year. There were 2 junior colleges that had contacted me, and then Rockhurst University out of Kansas City recruited my high school quite a bit. So he came to my house and offered a little scholarship to go to Rockhurst. And Rockhurst was a good school, but I wasn't interested in staying at home in Kansas City and going there. And so I wasn't highly recruited, but in any way, I did the work to get my name in front of Truman's coach.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him. He didn't reach out to me. It was basically a glorified walk-on position, but it was a spot.
Yeah. Were you a small town? Like, where'd you grow up? Was it a bigger high school or a smaller high school?
I grew up in South Kansas City. So if you're familiar with Kansas City and all, it's there's a town called Grandview that's just south of Kansas City on the Missouri side, and I was just north of that, so in Kansas City proper. My school would have been the Hillcrest school system.
Okay.
But went to for my high school years, I went to a school called Archbishop O'Hara High School, okay, which is no longer open. But it was a Catholic school, a little stronger academically than what I would have gone to, and also a little smaller. And my parents thought that would be a good place for me to be. And I don't know that I had a big opinion at the time. I think I remember saying I don't want to transfer to this school, but it ended up being a blessing for me. It was an opportunity for me to flourish a little bit more than I think I would have been allowed to do. Play varsity football, play varsity baseball, a little sooner maybe than I would have at the larger school, and so that really worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally different when you come from a small school trying to find a college to go play. I mean, you got like you said, you have to work for that. You got to go reach out to coaches and show them that you're here, because you don't get a lot of credit coming from that small area other than local colleges.
Right. Yeah. And so it was a city school, but it was a smaller school in the city. So
exactly.
So I experienced that a little bit, but and then I experienced it on the other side as a recruiter in college when I was recruiting players. Some of my best players came from small schools.
Yeah.
Weren't highly recruited, but really did a good job for us. Had great careers. They're just overlooked.
Just that fit, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about so you went to Truman. I'm assuming you majored in some sort of exercise science type deal. What'd you major in there?
Yeah, it was exercise science from the beginning, but my goal with what I was going to do with that major changed along the way as I was at Truman. So when I went there, I was thinking I wanted to be a physical therapist, which is what a lot of our students come here
everybody
saying.
comes and think that they're
I'd say 45-50% of our exercise science students mention physical therapy.
They just don't realize how competitive it is.
It's tough, and it was tough back then too. And I had a really good friend that also was going for an exercise science degree and wanted to be a physical therapist, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I got into it, and I decided, man, I don't know if I want to take all those prerequisites. I'm not sure if I really even like being would like being a physical therapist. I don't know that I'm geared that way. And so I switched. To, for a while I was like thinking about maybe going pre-med, and then I kind of backed off of that because I saw some of the classes I was going to have to take. And long story short, I ended up going pre-MAE at Truman. So Truman has a Master of Arts in Education. It's a 5-year program if you go through the entire thing and you leave with a master's. Took me 7. But that's okay because I met my wife there in the 6th year, and so it all worked out for the good. But because I changed so much, I had to kind of go backtrack and go get some classes that I needed to get into the master's program. And then I was lucky enough while I was there to do my student teaching at Brashear. The Brashear schools was just outside of Kirksville, small school, 1A, very tiny school.
Yeah.
But I was able to get hired there to do my student teaching. So I actually got paid. Not very much, but at the time.
But something.
When you come out of college and you get any type
yes.
of paycheck, it was huge.
Yes.
So I was hired there as the I was high school PE, high school health, middle school PE, and elementary. So I got to see them all, got paid to do it. And then I was also the junior high basketball coach, and that was a big time learning experience.
Yeah, oh yeah, I guarantee it.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was doing graduate work, and I was a graduate assistant for the baseball program.
Okay, right on.
So
yeah, so and then okay, so you went to Brashear. Where'd you go after that before you came to HL?
Straight here.
Oh, straight here.
Straight here. I was hired here as a 25-year-old. And,
oh wow.
And coaching varsity baseball. Well, there was only varsity at the time. So I was the head baseball coach, head cross-country coach. I was hired as the head cross-country coach and teacher. So I was instructing. At the same
quite the
time.
load.
Yeah. So knew nothing about cross-country when I came here.
Yeah.
But they were adding the program. They were in the process of adding the program. And so I think the overarching goal was to get to track and field, which is where they are now. And it's a great program. But at the time, they were just trying to start that ball rolling downhill. And so I was hired as a cross-country coach, knew nothing about cross-country. Immediately went out and bought a book called Coaching Cross-Country Successfully, read it cover to cover, and then tried to do my best with that for a few years while I did it. In way over my head, I'd get here at 5:30. We'd have cross-country practice at 6. And so I'd send them on a run. Sometimes I'd go back to my office and take a short nap while they were running, because I wouldn't leave until 7:30 because I had baseball in the afternoon until the evening. So it was a good thing that we didn't have any kids at the time, and I could make that work.
How'd the wife feel about that?
Well, she's probably okay with it because I was out of the house. And but like I said, we didn't have kids, and she's a teacher. And so she was when you're a teacher, those first few years are really, really tough.
Yeah.
And she bounced around a little bit. She went from kindergarten to first grade and eventually to reading. And so she was busy too, and we didn't have kids, and it was okay. And I was happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I remember thinking I could have no better job than this. I was getting to coach baseball, which is what I wanted to do. And cross country, I liked the kids. I liked the athletes. I liked working with them. Yeah. It was wearing me out a little bit, but overall, I thought, man, I'm getting paid to do this. This is great.
Yeah, loving your job. That's the best you can do.
Yeah.
So, coaching cross country and baseball, how was it like you said you read that cross country 101 back to cover. How was that like different? Were you pretty like coming into that cross country? Were you like scared, or like how was that?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Kind of like I felt like coming in here today. Like it's constantly a job interview,
Yeah.
Because I had athletes that were cross country runners and took it seriously, and some good ones. One of my runners in those first few years was Andy Lemons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who ended up being the head track coach here, and Andy had come over, transferred in. I can't remember now where he transferred in from, but he was a really good runner in Hannibal, and so there were some really good athletes, but they're a different type of athlete than a baseball player.
Yeah, for sure.
Working with cross country runners is very different than working with baseball players. So
Whole different mentality.
yeah, and I'm sure I didn't do a fantastic. I'm sure that they saw the shortcomings that I had in trying to coach cross country, but they were good about it, and they were good to me, and it taught me a lot about how to work with different athletes.
Yeah. So coming into baseball, you GA'd under Truman, so I'm sure you probably got a little bit of discipline, like you understood a little bit about it. I mean, you played all 8 years probably. So that first year coaching, what was that like with baseball? Whereas you having to take the mantle completely, as for the first time?
Big time learning process. Big time. I was in over my head. I was 25.
Yeah.
I had been a GA for a year and a half.
I mean, you got kids that are 22 probably.
Yeah. We just had an alumni event, golf event, and I was talking to some of them, and they were telling me, I said, now, how old are you? And they told me, and I'm like, well, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Now it's like when you get into your 40s, if you're 43 versus 46, whatever, you're the same age. So so that was hard, and I was in over my head. But some really good people took a chance on me, and that's why I'm here today. Tom Hufty was one of them at the time. He was our athletic director, and he knew I was young. He knew I had some learning to do, but he believed in me. And so it worked. It worked out in the end. I think we had some good years. The program built it got better, bigger.
I mean, you were really at the foundation blocks of the whole building of the baseball program.
Well, it had gone through some lean years. There was some time before where they had some success as well, but it had kind of gone through some upheaval. A good coach left. There was an interim coach in between, and so there was some rebuilding to do. So this is a good story. When I got the job at the beginning of the summer in 2002, I wanted to start working. I was still living in Kirksville. My wife was finishing up. I had just finished up, but I wanted to start working, so I wanted to get my hands on some files, and I knew I had to do recruiting. When I inherited the program, there were 16 players.
Oh, my.
16. So we're going into next year with 16 players, unless I started to add some. Yeah. And we did add a couple, but 16. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get my hands on some files and start. So I drove over, and I met somebody here that was going to give me some documentation, some things that I could start to work on. It was one file. He handed me a file folder. That's all I inherited. It was a file folder. And my office was, if you're in the sports complex upstairs, Jennifer Durst is in there now. She's an adjunct instructor. And so she uses that little bitty office upstairs.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so no computer. I did have a phone, but it was just back then we didn't have the fancy phones. It's just a phone. It's just an old-timey phone.
You could just call people with it.
Right. So I had a file. I had this little bitty office that was still a closet, by the way.
Yeah.
Did not have a window in the door like it does now. It wasn't painted. It still had some cleaning supplies in there. So I'm head of 2 programs. I've got a phone, which is good.
Nothing else.
But in a desk, and
a file.
The fact that the door did not have a window was good in the morning when I wanted to take a quick nap after sending the cross country runners out. But other than that, that's what I had. So here I am. I'm really not qualified for the job. To be honest with you, and given very little. But I think that made me better because I got to.
You had to adapt.
I had to learn on the fly. I had to kind of do my own thing some, and I had to rely on others. To help guide me along that way. So
was Blackwell Field built?
Yeah. So it's not Blackwell.
Or no, the
baseball field.
Nicholson Field.
Field.
Blackwell's the soccer field.
Yeah, I think they're still calling it Nichols Field, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
It was. It looked very different than it looked today. Yeah. We didn't even have a visitor's bullpen back then. So,
really?
That was step one. Was like, hey, we need a visitor's bullpen.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit.
There was a 4-foot high fence around the whole thing. So it had some problems, but that's one thing I'm proud of is that field's come a long way.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. It's been players that have cared about it along the way. And then toward the end of my career when I was able to hire Coach Sarton, who's still there.
Yes.
He's really worked hard on that.
Oh.
And I know Ben Struthers put a lot of work into upgrades.
He's worked hard on both of those fields.
Oh, yeah. He works hard on all
Yes.
fields.
Oh,
yeah, he loves it.
Well, I'll be like, I'll come up to him, which I love Sarty. I'll come up to him. He'll be on that gator. I'm like, when you tell him go home today? And he goes, well, when the sun goes down.
Yep, that's him. That's what he does. He works hard.
Yeah, he's got a grandkid now.
He does.
Up in
down in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think Sheila already moved there.
Yeah, she's down there a lot. I don't know if she's there full time now.
No, I think she's going back and forth.
Yeah, he's a treasure. I'm glad he ended up here, and I'm glad it's worked out for so many years.
He's been one of the people I've loved to talk to.
Yeah, a lot of students love talking to him. He's not a guy that at first will be overwhelmingly.
Yeah,
you're not. You got to get to know him a little bit.
He's very dry humor,
yep,
and
I think
it's just straightforward.
Yep, and I think students appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, you started this whole thing. We got your coaching career. How did you start teaching, and then how did you build this exercise science program? Because when I came, it was really in the beginning. And
so when did you come? What year?
2018.
Okay.
I think it was 2015 you started it?
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Because Logan Ross, I was talking to him, and he said he was at the beginning.
Very beginning.
Yeah. So tell me about how you built that. Because, you shifted the physical education major to exercise science. We still have physical education, but.
Yeah, so it wasn't me that built it. It was. First of all, let me say that there are a core group of coaches over there that have been there a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky. That's one of my favorite parts of being here. When you start thinking about guys and how long they've been here, Coach Hurst has been here 1 year longer than me. So since 2001, I believe. Erskine and Nichols. Both of those coaches were there, I think, prior to Coach Hurst, barely.
Yeah.
Coach Durst came in when I came in. Coach Quiggle's been there now a long time. I don't know the first year, but most of those names that I just mentioned teach.
Yeah, and all of those guys incorporated into this, like that whole group, like
that's the group that said we need to add exercise science.
Yeah, that understood the need for it.
Right,
because
it was because we were all recruiters.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're talking to students and we're saying, well, what do you want to major in? We have PE. Well, I want to be a physical therapist.
I want to be an athletic trainer. Yeah,
I want to be an athletic trainer. I want exercise science.
I want to be strength and conditioning. Yeah.
I want exercise. I don't want physical education. I want exercise science, which there's a lot of overlap. And so, as recruiters, we recognized that, and then we had to make some changes to our department. We did that, and then kind of just rolled it out. Like that was a scary time, because we kind of outlined what do we need to do to make this work? What classes do we need to add? And the academic office at the time said, "Let's do it."
Just say go for it.
Yeah, and so we're all kind of sitting there like, okay.
You didn't expect to get the green light like that.
Yeah. So it's in place. Let's roll it out. Yeah. And so some of those students at the very beginning probably didn't get the best look, but everything has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And some of our best students were back then too. Some of our best students that we've had go through our program were in those first few groups and have been very successful because of this program. So. It's grown. It's just grown, and it's not anything that I've done or I think any that one person has done, but it's one of those majors that in a school like ours is going to flourish.
Oh yeah,
we have a lot of athletes, a lot of interest. We've mentioned a lot of my students come in and say, I want to be a PT. Some say I want to be an athletic director, or some say that too. Athletic training, but. Some just say, I love sport. I love exercise. And if I can make a major of it and then possibly a career in it, then that's what I want to do.
It's hard when you're in it to get out. Like, that's for me. It's like so a little backstory on me. Of course, you were one of the people I met on my visit. Mm-hmm. Told me the exercise science program. And my whole mind coming in was like, I just want to stay in basketball. I just want to keep in sports. Yeah. That's all I want to be in my whole life. And so first 2 years go by and I'm like, oh, I can be an AT. I can be a chiropractor and all this stuff. And of course I went and job shadowed the chiropractor and I realized I am way too ADHD to be in. For me, it's like I was doing the same thing. over and over again.
Very repetitive.
Yeah, and I just was like, no shot.
Yeah.
And so I was frantic. I was searching. I was like, where else can I go? What else can I do? And I mean, I loved the exercise science program for the time I was in it. Like, I still remember my favorite class my freshman year was foundations or fundamentals.
Foundations of exercise science.
Yes. When you had this different speakers come in, I found this so interesting. And I remember just being like, this is the one class I look forward to going to every single time. And, we went, and then I was like, man, I don't want to tell Coach Biggs I want to switch my major because I was sitting there and I'm like, because I tried, and I remember talking to Ms. Jung, I'm like, hey, can I keep Coach Biggs as an advisor? Because you were one of the guys that I went to, and I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I would need to figure out something else. And you really helped me talk through that and figure out that, hey, I can still be in sports and the communication program and be speaking and stuff like that.
Well, thank you. You're one of our the ones we lost.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be here right now. I should have told you no because you should still be. But the advising piece is a really big part of my job, and I think maybe the part I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to know students and getting to help them through whatever plan is best for them. Like I said, I changed a ton. I stayed in my major.
Yeah.
But I changed a ton and changed my mind about what I thought I wanted to be, and I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy getting to know the students, and so the advising piece is big, and I think that's a good thing that HLG has to offer.
Yes, I agree. That whole relationship aspect,
yes.
Like you don't build a relationship at Mizzou. You don't build a relationship at those bigger schools.
Some of those bigger schools, you're going to have academic advisors. It's not going to be your.
It's not going to be it's not going to be a teacher you go to. Yeah.
And the fact that I have quite a few advisors right now because our program has grown, but I still can have a pretty good relationship with them. There's not too many that I can't get to know them on a.
Like, I mean, you're going to Truman with Braden.
Right. We're gonna go over to Truman on the 18th.
And
Josh Miley's going to go.
Heath is coming too, isn't he?
Heath is going to go. I just had 2 others commit to wanting to go, so I think we'll have 4 or 5. And we're going to go to Truman and look at their athletic training program.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot of students that are interested in athletic training.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of that is because we have a really good athletic training program.
Oh, yeah.
Josh Miley does a fantastic job.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast. I mean,
yeah,
like a guy that I never thought would be one of my better friends on campus. I don't even see him as, I see him as an athletic trainer, but he's almost more friend to me now. Like,
he's like that to a lot of people.
I go let his dog out when he's out of town and stuff like that. Like I went and watched Chiefs game with him and stuff like that. Just awesome. And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, it's gonna be weird going back and telling people, hey, this is where I was. And he was like, how long ago? I mean, it's going to make me feel old.
Yeah. Yeah, he does it. Man, he does an awesome job. And he's a relationship builder.
Oh, yeah.
And he's an instructor in our program. And one of the better ones. I mean,
when Care and Prevention. It's that
people
class.
love that class.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, one of the funniest stories is, I don't know if you ever heard the story, but it was me and Kyle Bauman. We were sitting next to each other in that class the whole time. And Josh and we made it through. Broken bones, compound fractures, all that stuff. We went right through it, blew through it. We were fine. It didn't get wheezy one time, and we get to skin diseases. So we're seeing like ringworms and all that stuff. And Kyle's like, I'm going to the bathroom. Gets up, goes to the bathroom, and it's like 9. Class was at 9:00 to 10:40, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was like 9:40 when he left, and 10:40 curls around, class is over. I'm like, where's Kyle? So I go to the bathroom, make sure he's all right, and he's not there. And I'm like, Josh, where's Kyle? So we walk up. I text him, and not a response. I just walk and talking with Josh up to the athletic training room, open the door. There's Kyle with a headband around his head, the pre-wrap around his head. And I'm like, what happened, dude? And he's like, I passed out in the bathroom.
Oh, my. I didn't hear that
Smoked his head on the back on the railing.
Crazy.
And we were like, what? It was just skin disease. He said, someone got me. And And I just took him. We took him to the hospital. Had to get staples in the back of his head. But that was one of the funniest stories, because he's just like, I don't know what got me. It's just
Josh came in and talked to Foundations recently.
yeah.
He always does, and he shows some slides of some injuries, and he always says, if you get queasy, you may want to turn around.
Yeah.
And so everybody's kind of sitting there. Nobody moved. And so he starts showing his pictures, and there was a picture of a hockey injury, I think.
I think
where
it was
finger.
Was the finger?
It was a
yeah.
finger, and sure enough, somebody stands up and kind of moseys out about that time, and sure enough, he ended up getting a little queasy.
Yeah. I mean, well, you got to prepare yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that care and prevention class. If you're going to be an athletic trainer, there's a high chance you are going to see that, and it's a lot worse in person.
Yeah. That's not something I could do.
No way. I mean, even some of the little stuff I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
I was he was talking about all the hockey injuries he had, and those kids are wild.
Yeah, hockey's brutal.
He said he had a kid go through his Achilles.
He shows that picture.
And I remember.
It's awful. And I look at it and I think, how is a skate sharp enough
that high,
or how sharp enough to get through
the shoe,
through the shoe and into the leg like that?
And he was like, the kid asked me if he'd go back and play.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
after
he wanted to
like,
play.
That's insane.
That's his story. Yeah.
But so moving forward, how are you hoping to expand the program, and what are your plans for the future and stuff like that?
Well, I would love to see us at some point get to the, improve facilities.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a campaign. Excuse me. The institution's in the middle of a campaign, and I think we're a part of that. Possibly looking at trying to add some facilities for us.
Yeah.
Exercise science has never really had a home.
Yeah, we bump around. Yeah.
Well, athletics has grown so much at the sports complex. Where do you put everybody?
Yeah, you can't.
And so when I took over, I was in the Partee Center.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the Carroll Mission Center. And now Coach Nichols was gracious enough to get me back into the sports complex. And since that's happened, I think our program's gotten better.
Yeah,
just because
I agree.
I'm over there all the time.
And you get to see.
And students are much more likely to stop by my office if they have something they need, because they're there all the time.
Yeah, all you got to do is open that door.
That's where my students are. So, but we have no classrooms that are dedicated just to exercise science.
Yeah.
So we need to beef up there. We need to grow there a little bit, and that's one thing I would like to see happen. Eventually, we probably need to get to a place where we can add a graduate program of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look like. Strength and conditioning is growing, and that's one that we've looked at. And we have a lot of students that are interested in strength and conditioning.
The whole world's getting massive.
Yeah. I mean, it's really taken off. So maybe that's a place where we could go, but some type of graduate program at some point. We're continuing to grow. I have 26 students in Foundations this year, which is the largest class I've had the last 3 years.
I think it was probably 21 in mine.
I think 21's right. And then it's typically around 26 this year. So that's, and in that class we have exercise science, sport and recreation management, and PE majors.
Yeah.
So all our majors seem to be trending up and growing. And so I'd say those two things, continuing to improve facilities, and then possibly looking at some way to keep you here.
Yeah,
through a
for
graduate
sure.
program
For sure.
at some point.
I mean, the whole idea of a graduate assistant is growing so much that I think we do definitely need to beef up masters in general.
That's why I think strength conditioning is a good fit.
Yeah.
Because just think if all of our programs had a student strength conditioning coach that could just kind of run those workouts under the tutelage of somebody that knows, that has experience. But that was one thing at Truman that really helped us, is that we had a student athletic trainer. So baseball had their own student athletic trainer, and they were with us, I think, all year. Maybe for a semester, but I think all year.
I think Miley said he was wrestling.
Yeah, and all of them do football, I think, at some point. But they're able to experience those things while providing a service. I mean, when I came here, I thought, well, where's our trainer? Because I'm used to having a trainer at practice, and I'm used to having a trainer with us on the road.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure we could do athletic training as a master's program, maybe.
Not yet.
But strength conditioning, just think about that. Running programs.
It'd be such a weight off of coach's shoulders too.
Yeah.
Like give them a little bit more time to.
And that's one thing we've tried to do is partner with athletics anywhere we can.
Yeah.
So that we both make each other stronger.
Yeah, for sure. When we did it, my freshman sophomore year, Pickett led all our weight training and stuff like that. He acted as our strength and conditioning coach because Pickett was a big dude.
Yeah,
he was a big dude.
He is. He knows what he's doing in the weight room.
My favorite story to tell about Pickett is scaredest I've ever been of him. We were playing QU, and this kid starts talking to coach, and he starts mouthing coach the whole time. And we're sitting, me, Landon, and Kyle are sitting on the end of the bench because I played about 6 minutes a game. Kyle and Landon didn't play much, and we just kind of hung out at the end of the bench and enjoyed the show. And coach gets technical on him for talking back to the kid, and because he said some wild stuff, and Coach Pickett stands up. He's like ready to defend coach. And I was like, you don't want to mess with this. I was like, you better stop while you're ahead, buddy. And I'm just, Landon and Kyle just sitting backwards, just like, oh, come on, Coach Pickett, do something.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that
he puffed out his chest, and I thought the buttons on his shirt were going to rip.
And he's not like that normally. So when you see him do that, he's a very quiet.
One of the most cool-mannered guys.
Right.
I still have a relationship with him. Like, I'll work out with him in the summer and stuff like that.
I can tell you have, by the way. You changed your body over the last year.
I've tried a lot of dieting. That's one thing I understood this year that's different than last year.
Has it helped you on the court, you think?
Oh, yeah. Energy-wise.
Yeah.
It just a lot better.
Not getting tired as quickly.
Not as quickly. Recently I've had a little bit of cold, but that's kind of not helped out as much. But, like, during practice, I feel more just ready to go, and body recuperates quickly. I'm not as sore coming after games and stuff like that. But he mentored me, like, really. It got me out of my shell, and just the things he's done for me is amazing. And that's one thing also, like, there's so many relationships through HLG that I've built.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have got them at different schools.
Yeah, and I'd say the same thing from my experience. Yeah. If you were to ask me what my favorite thing about HLG is, it's got to be the relationships.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I was given a chance at a time when probably I didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
By a mentor that he ended up being a great mentor for me. But also there are people that are still here that did that. Yeah. Dan Hurst is one.
Yeah.
Dan Hurst, he coached in high school for so long. He was a football coach. He's done softball. He's won a state championship. And from the very beginning, he befriended me, and I've learned a ton just from watching him and having conversations with him. So you think about mentors like that, good friends. Some of the other coaches over there are great friends to me, and you learn so much just from being around and watching how different people do things. And then across campus, it's the same way. You there are people that have retired in the last few years that have been here a lot. The entire time I've been here, and it's sad to see them go because it becomes what you. When I hear HLG and when I think about the school, I think about those people.
Professors and exactly.
I think that's what makes the school.
I agree.
That's been a great positive for me being here, and one of the things I love the most.
One of the. When I switched majors, like Brenneman welcomed me, Jung welcomed me with open arms. Yeah. And immediately had another friend. Immediately had another person I can go to whenever I have a question or anything like that.
I don't talk to them anymore because they took you. But that's fine. Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up here because you got to get back to work and I got to get back to
registration at 10. I got a registration at 10. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. And this has been a closer look with Coach Biggs. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.